Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been that kind of day here in Santa Clarita. So for those of you who are just joining us, you may have seen me just a couple minutes ago over in Valencia at a gas explosion. This time I am coming to you live from the scene of an RV that has run off the road right at the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way in Canyon Country. Now, I will warn you right now, because there is somebody potentially trapped in the vehicle, you may see the camera pan away just to allow at least a little bit of privacy for the person who has been trapped. As of this point, we don't know the condition of the person who is in the vehicle. We do know that this crash happened approximately, I'd say almost half an hour ago at this point. As I said, we are right at the intersection of Jake's Way and Lost Canyon Road. For those of you who are familiar with the area, there is a roundabout right here at Jake's Way and Lost Canyon Road. And it looks like this RV somehow lost control and ended up barreling into the Santa Clara River rather than navigating the curve. Now, we don't have an idea of any injuries as of this point. We do know that one person is potentially trapped, most likely the driver. However, we cannot confirm as to their condition as of this point. This incident is going to take a while, unfortunately, due to the issue of the terrain and any potential injuries that may have happened, as well as just the sheer unwieldiness of this large RV that you can see here. The local search and rescue team has actually been called out in order to help navigate the situation and try to get the passenger of this vehicle not only out of the vehicle, but up safely. The fact that they haven't just pulled them out and put them in the stretcher indicates that there's a certain level of seriousness to these injuries. So this has been a day so far for those of you who are joining us. We went immediately from a possible gas explosion over in the Valencia Industrial Center all the way clear to the other side of the valley for an RV that ran off the road. This is at the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way. It does look like this vehicle managed, I'm going to go ahead and pan a little bit to the left here so that everybody can kind of see what's going on. The street is not closed entirely. However, the connection from Lost Canyon to westbound Jake's Way is blocked. I'm actually going to be able to show you in just a second. Excuse the shakiness here. So they've actually closed off the entire roundabout heading to the west. Let me zoom out for you guys. In order to allow for emergency responders to try to figure out what exactly is going on. Here's a little bit of a better view of the roundabout. So, Lost Canyon Road, at least going to the north and to the east, is still open, and Jake's Way heading to the east, you are still able to access this whole area. However, westbound Jake's Way coming through this roundabout is blocked to allow emergency vehicles to try to figure out what the heck they're going to do. So you can actually see where those deputies are standing. There's actually quite a bit of mulch that has been kicked up, and it looks like the RV barely missed this tiny tree and that pole that you can see right there as it made its way out towards the Santa Clara River, up and over that ledge and into the wash itself. As you can see, emergency responders are attempting to try to figure out not only how to get the driver out of the vehicle, but also how to get them back up that incline. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Santa Clara River, but if you are in the area, you know it's not an easy little incline into the wash. It is a steep bank coming up more than 45 degrees in some areas, as you can tell by the decline of this RV in and of itself. So if somebody is badly injured, it is going to be a hell of a time to try to get them back up safely. So we're still trying to figure out exactly what led to this. We're not sure exactly what caused the crash in the first place. We're still looking for that sort of information. So that is still under investigation, along with how in the world they are going to try to get the driver out of this situation. Now, if you head on over to our comment section, you can actually see that one of our other reporters has commented a link to the story over on our website, which has a comprehensive list of everything that I've just told you. We're also going to be sending any updates from the local officials like the fire department are going to be listed there. That way, if you don't want to listen to me, you can head on over to our website at hometownstation.com, and we'll be putting all of the updates right over there. Thankfully, as of this point, it is only westbound Jake's Way from Lost Canyon that appears to be blocked as of this point. And there is still an ambulance here. So I've been doing this for a couple of years now at this point. The fact that there is still an ambulance is a good sign. The fact that it's taking so long to get to the driver is not. So hopefully in a couple of minutes, I'll be able to pan my camera away to offer some privacy to the driver, and we'll be seeing one person pulled out of the vehicle. So that's our hope in this. That's always what we really want to see coming out of these crashes. Is the reads are one thing. We always want to be able to see one person going to the hospital rather than report a fatality. So that's what I'm really hoping for here. Yeah, local search and rescue is actually in this area to try to figure out how to get the driver out, as well as figure out what the heck they're going to do about that RV. I don't know if any of you guys have an RV, but those things are interesting to drive, especially when you've got it halfway in a riverbed. So we'll see what happens with this. If you guys have any questions about where exactly we are, what we're going to do about this, in order to try to get the driver out of the vehicle, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. I'll be here trying to report on the incident for as long as possible. Now, from where I'm at, it doesn't appear that they've broken any windows. However, my angle is a little bit more restricted just because we don't want to try to get the driver in the main view. All right, give me a second to see what's going on here. So for those of you who are just joining us, this crash happened about 40 minutes ago at this point. They still haven't pulled anybody out of the wreckage yet, which, as I mentioned previously, is not a great sign. We do know that there was at least one person trapped in unknown condition. Yeah, and that local search and rescue has been pulled out, as well as a large quint, which includes the jaws of life and everything that's needed in order to kind of cut its way through the vehicle itself, if that is what is needed. So what we're seeing here is that, let me go ahead and show you guys all of the local officials that have showed up in order to kind of help with this crash. So we have one of our large vehicles right over here from Fire Station 104, which is right near the intersection of Newhall Ranch Road and Golden Valley Road. This is one of the biggest vehicles that they have in the fire department, especially in this area. That has all of the equipment you could possibly need. You guys will recognize this as the big ladder truck. This is one of those that carries the jaws of life. It has the giant ladder in order to handle the larger buildings, which around here in Santa Clarita, we don't really have that many large buildings. So worst comes to worst, if a fire happens at the Hyatt, this would be the sort of thing that would be pulled out in order to handle the situation. Of course, we have our American Medical Response, aka our ambulance. As of about an hour ago, there was actually a 30-minute wait for an ambulance here in the Santa Clarita Valley. So I'm glad that they were able to get to this scene so fast. When I was over at the gas explosion over in Valencia, it took nearly 30 minutes for the ambulance to get here, which was very concerning. There was actually somebody transported from that incident as well. So it looks like they're going down and checking part of the wreckage right now. And in just a moment, we might be moving just to make sure that the ambulance doesn't have any sort of interference from me being here. Hi, Mia. So this is actually right near the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way over in Canyon Country. We are butted up right against the Santa Clara River. That freeway that you can see right there is the 14 freeway. So if you guys want a little bit of a better idea, we are actually exactly south of the 14 and Soledad Canyon Road, a little bit north of the exit that you'd take if you wanted to go to Costco. For those of you who are familiar with this area, you'll know this is actually the end of a roundabout between Jake's Way and Lost Canyon Road. So to your left is actually a downhill from Lost Canyon Road. It looks like the RV managed to, for some reason or another, lose control, hopped the curb, and ended up going about 40, 50 feet away off the road and into the Santa Clara River. Sorry, I'm just taking a look at the scene and what exactly is happening right here at this very moment. It looks like they're moving some of the emergency vehicles in order to allow for additional traffic through the area. I would highly suggest that if you are in this area, please try to avoid the roundabout at Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way. It is generally just going to be very, very busy here. It looks like they're moving the ambulance either to try to find a better place for the ambulance to try to access the driver, because it looks like they still have all of the AMR equipment is still here. So that is a very, very good sign. As I mentioned previously, if I'm here, if the crash is here, if the victim is still in the car and the ambulance leaves without the victim, that is something we never like to see. But it looks like everybody's still here and they're still trying to get somebody out. So I'm going to take that as a very good sign here. Unfortunately, we don't know what the status of the person inside the vehicle is at this point. We did hear that they were trapped, possibly, but past that, we really haven't heard much in terms of this developing situation. Which, this could be for several reasons, partially because of just the precariousness of the vehicle and where it has landed, possibly the condition of the driver in and of itself. Yes, as of last we heard, there was only one person involved in the crash, most likely the driver of the RV itself. We really don't know as to what their condition is as of this point. We can only hope that they are all right, or at least as all right as possible given the circumstances. However, given the fact that they were trapped in the vehicle and I haven't seen anybody get pulled out just yet, things are not looking great. This crash happened about nearly an hour ago, about 50 minutes ago. And when we heard it, it was just a RV that had gone off the road and into the Santa Clara River, which is, as you can see here, exactly what has happened. The car hopped, or RV I should say, rather than car, managed to hop the curb, drive about 40 to 50 feet, and then go down this sharp incline here. Yeah, so actually, let me give you guys a view of the full scene once again, because you should take a look at the area, actually. So this is where the RV actually came from. We're not sure if they managed to come from this downhill here on Lost Canyon Road or potentially from either the east or westbound Jake's Way. However, they must have come through this roundabout here, because we can see damage actually right at this part of the curb here. So there is a potential that the vehicle lost control right here, possibly coming around the roundabout and then coming about 50 feet to the end of that lip there, and then finally over the edge and into the Santa Clara River. So there's a lot of different possibilities. We're not sure exactly what caused the crash at this point. It does look like they've pulled out the heavy-duty tow truck for this, which, considering the size of the vehicle involved, makes perfect sense. This does explain why they've removed a lot of the emergency vehicles, because there is no way this large tow truck is going to be able to get here when it was filled with everybody from the ambulance and the fire trucks and everything. This is a very, very large tow truck. You'll be able to see it in a couple of minutes. Like I said, we're going to keep on trying to get you more information as this keeps going here. I'm going to go ahead and back this up just so you can see the size of this tow truck in just a second. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. You can also head on over to our website at hometownstation.com. We've got a story on this up and ready to read. You can also check out our other social media. We're trying to make sure that you get the latest in all Santa Clarita Valley news, whether it be fires, crashes, or like we had earlier today, minor gas explosions. We'll be able to try to get you the latest information. So unfortunately this time, or fortunately I should say, I can't confirm that it is a fatality. There is still medical personnel on scene from the American Medical Response, that is your ambulance. So that is a good sign. I've seen it a couple of times where once the ambulance leaves, that's pretty much your confirmation that somebody is dead. So the ambulance is still here. It is taking a while to get them out of the vehicle, but there is still a chance. For those of you who just joined us, you can actually see what that deputy is doing. He's actually measuring how far the vehicle has gone off the edge. It's actually a little wheel that has a little measuring tape inside. So they can see exactly how far the vehicle went from point A to point B, or in this case, the ledge all the way down to the front of the vehicle. And now, especially in situations like this, that is very, very important because there's a lot of ways that this crash could have happened. I'm just going to list a couple just so you guys know. Obviously, everybody is always aware of potential DUI. We don't know if that is the case here. There's also the possibility of a medical call. There could have been a medical emergency. There also could have just been something that happened mechanically with the vehicle itself. There's a lot of options, and local officials have to try to check and figure out which one it is at pretty much any point, because especially if this turns out to be a very serious crash, that's something they really have to keep an eye out for. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave this live going for just a second. I'm going to go take some photos. I will be back in approximately 60 seconds. Once again, I will be back in about 60 seconds. I'll go ahead and move the camera a bit so you guys can kind of see what local officials are doing to try to make sure that the crash is handled properly. Bear with me. I'll see you guys back here at about 12:30. Thank you guys very much for bearing with me. I just went to go take a look at the other angle of the crash for just a second. So there is quite a bit of damage to the front of that RV there. So that definitely explains why they are having such a time trying to figure out what exactly happened. And not only that, but get the driver out. The car itself is actually wedged into the large boulders that are actually on the edge of the Santa Clara River. If you guys have any other questions, please go ahead and hit me up with them. Otherwise, we'll just be here live at the scene, trying to figure out exactly what happened to the driver of the vehicle, because we have not seen them get pulled out yet. If you guys have any other questions as to the nature of the crash, or as to what exactly is happening here, or anything else that's happening in the Santa Clarita Valley that I can go ahead and help with, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. You can also head on over to our website for more answers as to what exactly is going on here. I can confirm that there is somebody still in the vehicle. I cannot discuss their condition in any way, unfortunately. That information has not been shared with us. So this is going to be a heck of a time to try to get this RV out, not only just because of the sheer size of it, but also trying to get it out safely and with as little damage as possible, especially if there is still somebody inside. It does look like they've closed off most of this intersection at Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way. So please, if you are in the area, please avoid the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way. There are other routes in and out of Jake's Way. Please take them. This is exactly at the roundabout let me go ahead and show you guys again where exactly we are. So here we are, we're at the bottom of the roundabout at Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way. As you can see, the entire roundabout has been closed off by emergency responders. So please avoid the area if at all possible. What we do know as of this time is that it appears that the RV came around this part of the roundabout, managed to hop the curve right here in between this tree and that pole, barely avoiding taking out both of them. You can see the mulch that got kicked up right there, and then went another 40-50 feet or so and ended up going off the edge and into the Santa Clara River. We do know that there was at least one person inside the vehicle, and as far as I know, that person is still inside. You can go ahead and you can see that stretcher on the right side of the screen there. The fact that they haven't removed that and that the ambulance is still here is a good sign, because it means that there is somebody who is still alive to need a stretcher. So as much as it sucks, absolutely, if you still see an ambulance on the scene and not a coroner's van, we're going to take that as a blessing at this point. I saw some damage to the front of this vehicle, and it looks like the weight of the vehicle is actually all squashed onto the right front side of the RV, which crashed into the large boulders, an example of some of which you can see right there on your right side of your screen. So if you guys are actually familiar with the Santa Clara area, this is the Santa Clara River. I'm going to give you an example of, you see those large rocks over there? That is exactly what this RV has crashed into, is those large banks of boulders, which help prevent any sort of stuff being washed away during floods or the few times that we do actually get rain. So that is what this RV has squished itself into. All of the weight is residing on the front right side of the vehicle. I've sent photos back to our newsroom, and we are working on putting them on our website right now. So you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about in just a couple of minutes. This crash occurred nearly an hour ago at this point, actually almost exactly an hour ago, and the driver is still inside the vehicle. We don't know the exact condition of the driver, unfortunately. As I mentioned, though, the fact that the ambulance is still here is a good sign. The fact that they have been unable to remove the driver is not. Traffic in the area is impacted. This is at the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way in Canyon Country. You can actually see the 14 freeway right behind us. So if your best bet is to please try to avoid the roundabout specifically. You can take either of the other ways in and out of Jake's Way. I know that there's a couple of other ways that go out onto Sierra Highway or through the other end of Lost Canyon. It is your best bet to just avoid the area entirely, if at all possible, because part of the roundabout is blocked just to give emergency responders a place to park. We're going to be here for probably some time. Like I said, please, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments and I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and I'll move the camera around so you guys can see a full picture of what exactly is going on. Right now, they're just really trying to work on getting the vehicle moved to where they can actually access the driver as of this point. So it looks like they're working on trying to put chocks under the wheels. Now I know you guys can't see it, but the damage to the front end of this RV is pretty significant. I'm going to see if I can move over a little bit just to give you guys a better view of what's going on in a couple of minutes. Please, if you haven't already, head on over to our website at hometownstation.com. We've got more information on the story, and we're updating it as soon as we get new information. There's also, you can hit us up on Twitter or on Instagram at KHTS Radio on all of those social media sites. And I'm going to stay live here for as long as I possibly can, just to give everybody a good conclusion to this story. Hopefully it's going to turn out with somebody going to the hospital and not the morgue. So, well, the lack of urgency can be a good thing or a bad thing. That is a good question, because It could be a lack of urgency because there's really not much they can do and everybody's fine and they just have to take their time to get somebody out safely. Or it could be a lack of urgency because it is incredibly delicate and they have to be careful with what they're doing and you have to take the time to get somebody out. There's also the fact that there could be a lack of urgency because the person in the vehicle hasn't survived. I don't know which one of those it is, and we're going to have to find out. So short answer is lack of urgency could be a very good thing or it could be a very, very bad thing. And unfortunately, until they manage to get access to the driver, we're not going to know which one it is. Because it is entirely possible that maybe they don't have access to the person in the vehicle, maybe they're unconscious, maybe they're conscious, but maybe they can't move. And let's say if they manage to injure their back or their spine in such way, you cannot rush moving something like that because that could damage their spinal column, that could hurt them so badly. So you really can't rush stuff like this. But please go ahead and avoid the area as much as possible, just to allow emergency responders more room in order to do work. You may see, especially if you're in this area, I'm seeing the road just straight up getting blocked off, even to local residents. Just please try to avoid the roundabout as much as possible. I'm going to be able to move the camera in just a couple of minutes. We're staying up here just because I'm not quite sure exactly where the victim is, and I want to be able to move the camera quickly in case they manage to pull them out. So this is an ongoing incident as of this point. It's been happening for about a minute over an hour as of this point near the intersection of Lost Canyon Road and Jake's Way in Canyon Country. Last we heard, there was one person trapped in the vehicle. This is partially because the RV itself is actually crushed into the rocks that you can see on this incline here. The entire front right side of the vehicle is crumpled. I'll be able to move the camera in a couple of minutes just to give you guys a better view of what exactly is going on here. Emergency responders are taking their time trying exactly to figure out not only how to get this vehicle out of the wash here so it's not just left, but also how to get the driver out, which last we heard was still in the vehicle. Give me just a moment to go ahead and check back in with our newsroom here. One moment, please. Alrighty, not much new information coming from the newsroom just yet. This is really an ongoing incident here. Until we get that driver out, we're really not sure what the outcome of this incident is going to be. Obviously, this crash is under investigation. Let me go ahead and show you one more time. I was able to see what some of the deputies investigating the area were taking a look at. So let me give you a full idea of exactly how far this vehicle went off the roadway here. So this vehicle went about 45-50 feet off the roadway onto that ledge before the vehicle actually fell off and into the Santa Clara riverbed. It looks like the RV actually came around this roundabout here and ended up losing control and hopping the curb right about there where you can see the mulch right there on the ground. And from there, managed to keep on going, hop the curb, went up and over and down into the Santa Clara riverbed. And this is where we are. There is not much new information. Local search and rescue is on scene in order to try to get everybody out. But until they manage to either get that vehicle out of the wash or the driver out of the car, there's not much new information that we really can find out about this incident. So there is not damage. There is a little bit of a skid mark and mulch scattered all over the place. So just to give you guys a little bit of a break, we're gonna go ahead and try to find a different angle to shoot this from and give you guys a better idea of what the crash looks like, and I'll be back with you guys in a couple of minutes. Subscribe to this page, please, at KHTS Radio, and you'll be able to pick up the second half of this story. Thank you all very much for joining us. Head on over to hometownstation.com for updates, and check back here for another live.